What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here as always on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade JJ Williams. Happy Tuesday, and today we're going to continue to go through our 31 Days of Disney as we take a look at Lilo and Stitch, featuring the voice talents of DeVay Chase, Tia Carrere, Jason Scott Lee, David Ogden Stiers, Veen Rames, Kevin McDonald, Kevin Michael Richardson, Zoe Caldwell, Miranda Page Walls, and Chris Sanders. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here once again for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. As I said in the introduction, we're going to continue going through our 31 Days of Disney, and we're going to take a look at the beloved film from the early 2000s, Lilo and Stitch. And as our movie opens, Dr. Jumba Jukiba is convicted by the United Galactic Federation of illegal genetic experimentation. See, he's created Experiment 626, an aggressive and near indestructible creature with great learning capabilities. Before 626 can be exiled to an unpopulated asteroid, he escapes and crash lands on the island of Kauai in Hawaii, where he is hit by passing trucks and placed in an animal shelter. The Federation's Grand Councilwoman then offers Jumba an early release if he assists the Council's Earth expert, Agent Pleakley, in capturing the experiment. On the island, Nani Pilikai struggles to take care of her rambunctious but lonely younger sister, Lilo, after their parents have died in a car crash. Now, social worker Cobra Bubbles expresses concern over whether Nani can take adequate care of Lilo and threatens to place her into foster care if their situation fails to improve. After overhearing Lilo praying for a friend, Nani decides to let her adopt a dog. At the animal shelter, Lilo takes an interest in 626, who impersonates a dog in order to avoid Jumba and Pleakley, who have already landed on Earth. Despite Nani's doubts, Lilo adopts 626 and renames him Stitch. That evening, at the restaurant where Nani works, Jumba and Pleakley attempt to capture Stitch while in disguise. The owner blames the ensuing destructive chaos on Stitch and ends up firing Nani as a result. The next day, Bubbles repeats his earlier warning and tasks Nani with finding a new job. Stitch's antics while invading his pursuers persistently ruin Nani's chances of finding work. Nani's friend David invites her, Lilo, and Stitch to enjoy a day of surfing in order to improve their mood. While Nani, Lilo, and Stitch ride a huge wave, Jumba and Pleakley try to capture Stitch, causing Stitch to unintentionally pull Lilo underwater. They survive, but Bubbles witnesses this event and decides to retrieve Lilo the following morning. Feeling guilty over how much trouble he has caused, Stitch runs off into the night. The next morning, the Grand Councilwoman fires Jumba and Pleakley and gives the assignment to Captain Gantu, which incidentally frees them both to pursue Stitch using less covert methods. Meanwhile, David informs Nani of a job opportunity, which she rushes off to pursue. While hiding in the nearby woods, Stitch encounters Jumba and Pleakley, who chase him back to Nani's house. A fight between Jumba and Stitch culminates in an explosion that destroys the house. Nani sees the chaos and she rushes back home just in time to see Bubbles arrive in order to collect Lilo. As Nani and Bubbles argue over Lilo's well being, Lilo runs away into the woods and finds Stitch, who, in shame, reveals his alien identity before Gantu captures them. Stitch escapes from Gantu's ship, but fails to rescue Lilo. Nani confronts him, having witnessed Lilo's kidnapping. Before he can explain, Jumba and Pleakley capture Stitch themselves. Nani demands that they help her rescue Lilo, but Jumba and Pleakley insist that they only came for Stitch. When Nani breaks down, Stitch reminds her about Ohana, a term for family that he learned from her. Stitch then convinces Jumba to help rescue Lilo. Then, Jumba, Pleakley, Stitch, and Nani all board Jumba's personal spaceship and pursue Gantu, rescuing Lilo. Back on the shore, the Grand Councilwoman arrives in order to take Stitch into custody personally, and she fires Gantu for endangering Lilo and failing to capture Stitch. However, she realizes that Stitch is now civilized when he displays his newfound respect and compassion, and she recognizes that Stitch is Lilo's property. So the Grand Councilwoman decrees that Stitch will live out his exile on Earth and that his family will be under the care of Bubbles, a former CIA agent who had previously met the Grand Councilwoman during the Roswell incident. Stitch, Jumba, and Pleakley, having joined Lilo and Nani's family, rebuild their home with David and Bubbles' help as our movie comes to its close. Lilo and Stitch is a great family movie. It very much, kind of in a way, but not really, echoes something that The Lion King did about 5 or 6 years earlier, in that it teaches a new word, at least, from a new language. Because just like everybody came out of The Lion King talking about Hakuna Matata, which means no worries, legitimately, that's what it means. It's not something they just made up for the movie. Lilo and Stitch taught everybody about Ohana, and Ohana means family. And family means nobody gets left behind. Wait for it, wait for it, give it to me at home. That's right, or forgotten. So you put this immediately, trying to throw that onto the same level as The Lion King, with that little bit of knowledge that it's teaching the youth of America. The problem with Lilo and Stitch is it came about 5 to 7 years too late, or if you want to look at the flip side of the coin, about 7, 8 years too early. Because if this movie had come during the Renaissance period, when we were getting The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Lion King, etc., I think it would have been a bigger blockbuster than it was. In turn, if it had come out during the Tangled, Frozen, Wreck-It Ralph era, I feel like it would have been a bigger success than it originally was. Now, don't be fooled when I say that, because Lilo and Stitch had enough of a following that it got its own TV show, it got its own sequel, and it got essentially a pilot movie and an end of series movie, all of which we're going to be covering here this month. We have 4 total Lilo and Stitch movies we're going to take a look at. Lilo and Stitch, Stitch the movie, which was essentially the pilot for the Lilo and Stitch series. We're going to take a look at Leroy and Stitch, which was essentially, depending on how you look at it, either the theatrical series finale or it was post series finale. And then we're going to look at Lilo and Stitch 2, Stitch Has a Glitch. All four of those movies coming up in these 31 days. But I digress. It was popular enough to get all that attention, but when put up onto the same pedestal as The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, The Lion King, it just didn't compare. So this, and to a certain extent, Emperor's New Groove, which we all, talked about a few days ago. I'm not a huge fan of it, but those two movies from this time period really kind of came out at the wrong time. And if they had been sooner or later, probably would have been even more successful than they are. Lilo and Stitch is still held in a high regard. I see a lot of people who are Stitch fanatics. I used to do pin trading a whole lot. There's a lot of people that are die-hard Stitch collectors, but it's just one of those things where you you it's like a wave. It's the best way to do it. If you can get that wave right when it's starting to form, you got a great ride. If you try to get that wave once it's already there, or is it starting to peter out, you don't get much of anything, or you wreck. And I feel like that's the best way to compare, make an analogy for Lilo and Stitch is it wasn't there when the Renaissance was starting to come up. And it wasn't even there when it was at its peak. It was there as the wave was already kind of fluttered out, and it's kind of like that last little bit of push getting you to the shore. Again, still successful, but not as much as it could have been. I do enjoy Lilo and Stitch. Lilo and Stitch is one of those movies where at first I was like, I don't care about this. I don't care about Disney movies anymore. Blah, blah, blah. I'm too cool for this. But in time, I saw it. And as soon as I saw it, I immediately connected to it. I got it. There was just something about it that was so endearing to me that I could not help but be kind of compelled to this story. And that's just the art of great storytelling, which we all know Disney is great at. I do find it funny, and we're going to get onto a little subtangent here, so run with me, but it does tie to this. I do find it funny. We're going to transition briefly to scary movies. When people tell me that they're horrified of the rain, because when they do that, all I do is tell them, how can you be scared of Samara? Samara is Lilo. Because it is. The girl who plays Samara in The Ring is the same girl, DeVay Chase, who's the voice of Lilo. And now, when you watch The Ring, you're never going to be able to watch it the same way again, because when you see Samara climbing out of the well, running through the TV screen, you're going to see Lilo. Think about it. If you didn't know, now you know, and knowing is half the battle. But I thoroughly enjoy this film. I can watch it over and over again. Some of the sequels I have never seen before, and we'll talk about those as we get to those. But when it comes to Lilo and Stitch, the original movie, I'm going to give this one 4.5 out of 5 stars. I do thoroughly enjoy this film. And I'm pretty sure most of my viewers at home do too. What do you guys think of Lilo and Stitch? Let me know. If you're watching the premiere, leave your thoughts and comments over here. And if you're watching on demand later in the day, leave your thoughts and comments down here. And let's have that conversation, that discussion, that debate, that interaction that I'm always asking you guys for in the comments below. And we will be discussing Stitch the movie, the backdoor pilot for the Lilo and Stitch TV series here in a couple days. But first, later on this afternoon, right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, we regret to inform you that much like last week, Statboy Sports Bar is still temporarily closed. They are taking the day off for the 4th of July. They will be back next week in their regular time slot with their regular shenanigans. That being said, on the Casa D18 Studios channel, the Jeff Meacham Network, and across the Jeff Meacham Network multiverse of media, I am not 100% if talk wrestling is happening today or not. There was some discussion between Jeff and I about doing a talk wrestling brunch. So that very well could have already aired by the time this is going up, because no final decision has been rendered as of filming this. Talk wrestling may be in its regular time slot. 10:05 Eastern, right after NXT to the East Coast. 7:05 Pacific, just before NXT to the West Coast. Or it could have been completely canceled today for the 4th. We'll just have to see what happens on the Jeff Meacham Network multiverse of media. But one thing I can tell you for sure is tomorrow, right back here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, we will be back for another episode of Renegades Reviews as we continue our 31 Days of Disney and we talk about Tarzan and Jane, featuring the voice talents of Michael T. Weiss, Olivia DeBow, April Winchell, Jim Cummings, John O'Hurley, Nicolette Sheridan, and Tara Strong. You don't want to miss out on any of that content right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, the Jeff Meacham Network, across the Jeff Meacham Network multiverse of media. Statboy Sports Bar closed today, will reopen tomorrow. Talk wrestling may have happened earlier, may be happening later, may not be happening at all. You're just going to have to tune in and find out. Tarzan and Jane tomorrow, and so much more as we do the rest of our 31 Days of Disney here on Renegades Reviews. Again, you don't want to miss any of it, so make sure you smash that like button, make sure you're subscribed, make sure that notification bell is turned on so you don't miss out anytime a video drops right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel or anytime we go live, as is the case with Statboy Sports Bar, Open Mic Night, Talk Wrestling, pay-per-view PLE watch-along coverage, etc. Share these videos with your family, friends, loved ones, coworkers, movie fanatics, cinephiles in your life, fans of Disney movies, fans of animated movies, fans of Lilo and Stitch, fans of DeVay Chase. Anybody you can think of that would enjoy this content in this video, share it with them, as it's the only way we're going to keep my visibility up in YouTube's algorithms now that we are in fact a monetized channel right here on the platform. Thank you once again to everybody out there who joined me and tuned in this afternoon. It means so much more to me than you guys will ever know. And I will see you guys next time.
And now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.